An Illinois mayor is getting national attention for the way that she's spending taxpayer dollars.
WGN Investigates has learned South suburban politician Tiffany Henyard has lost another key ally. Until recently, Henyard enjoyed near unanimous support on the Thornton Township Board, but now trustee Carmen Carlisle says after trusting Henyard and remaining silent, she will be a whistleblower against Henyard.
As information that indicates the FBI has launched an investigation into controversial Dalton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor.
The FBI recently raided the home of Tiffany Henyard Dalton, the self-proclaimed super mayor, uncovering millions of dollars hidden away in a manner that could rival a blockbuster thriller. What began as a story of a small-town leader has quickly spiraled into one of extravagant living, funded by public money. Henyard, known for flaunting her title, now faces difficult questions as her lavish lifestyle comes to light. The findings include luxury vacations, designer shopping sprees, and even a $500,000 driveway for her mother, all allegedly funded by the very taxpayers she was elected to serve. This level of indulgence has drawn comparisons to celebrities like the Kardashians, especially as her town, Dalton, grapples with a massive $3.5 million debt. The FBI's discovery didn't just include a bit of hidden cash, it was millions of dollars. This financial mismanagement occurred as Dalton, under Henyard's leadership, descended into financial ruin. But how did Henyard rise to power, and why is this story so significant? Her journey to power began after the unexpected death of former mayor Frank Zuccarelli, a transition that immediately sparked skepticism. Despite the doubts, Henyard entered the position with grand ambitions. It turns out, however, that her goal wasn't community improvement or effective governance, but rather creating her own personal empire. In the story I'm told, Henyard perfects her skills of improvisation at jumping into the pot. Henyard's rise was rapid and dramatic. In 2021, she won the mayoral seat amid much fanfare, but she didn't stop there. She also took on the role of supervisor for Thornton Township, an influential position that earned her an impressive $200 million annually. From the outset of her tenure, things took a controversial turn. Critics were quickly silenced, and those who dared question her were shut down with the swiftness of a glitchy TikTok video. At first, Henyard was welcomed by the people of Dalton, who were excited about her energy and bold promises for revitalizing the town. But while she basked in the glow of her newfound celebrity, Dalton's finances deteriorated rapidly. Henyard ruled Dalton like a queen, operating with a firm grip on power, while the town's financial situation spiraled out of control. Allegations began to surface that she used her authority not to serve the community, but to fund an extravagant lifestyle. This included lavish trips to Las Vegas, unsuspicious relationship and questionable donations to a breast cancer charity that suspiciously featured her name prominently. Meanwhile, the taxpayers of Dalton were left footing the bill for Henyard's lavish escapades. With each new revelation, the tale of Tiffany Henyard's rise to power and her subsequent fall from grace becomes even more alarming. What began as the story of a small-town leader has now transformed into a cautionary tale of corruption, greed, and the abuse of public office for personal gain. First, examine the first major red flag in Tiffany Henyard Dalton's administration. Upon taking office, Henyard boasted about securing funding for housing veterans and seniors, along with promising new developments aimed at revitalizing the town. These lofty ambitions, however, were soon overshadowed by a federal investigation into her spending habits, which could land her in serious legal trouble. Of particular concern was her so-called breast cancer charity, the Henyard Care Foundation, which initially appeared to be a noble cause. However, closer inspection revealed that many of the donations were, in fact, funded directly by taxpayer dollars. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered damning evidence in the form of receipts that revealed Henyard had been living lavishly on public funds. Thousands of dollars were spent on tuffle stays and upscale amenities, all charged to Dalton and Thornton Township credit cards. In just 5 months, Henyard spent an astonishing $67,000 on travel alone, a sum that exceeds the annual earnings of many residents in her town. While Dalton's budget was already stretched thin, Henyard appeared to live like a star on a glitzy reality show, indulging in luxury that infuriated taxpayers. A particularly infamous example of her misuse of public funds occurred during a business trip to Springfield. Rather than focusing on her municipal duties, Henyard turned the trip into a personal extravaganza. She stayed at luxury hotels, took motorbike rides, and even brought along an entourage that included her own DJ and a drone photographer. The entire spectacle, including the high-end hotel stays, lavish meals, and a caravan of vehicles provided by Dalton and Thornton Township, was paid for by taxpayers. This blatant misuse of funds was just the beginning. Adding insult to injury, Henyard reportedly sold merchandise, including t-shirts and hoodies, that had been ordered with Thornton Township funds, She profited from the sales without providing any explanation. When questioned about these transactions, Henyard's refusal to clarify only fueled suspicions of financial mismanagement and self-interest. But perhaps Henyard's most audacious move was her self-promotion campaign, in which she plastered her face on massive billboards throughout Dalton. These billboards were not for election purposes, but were instead meant to glorify herself, all at the expense of the taxpayer. The billboards, paid for with public funds, sparked widespread outrage. Residents and critics alike pointed out that such actions blurred ethical lines and were in fact illegal. Public funds are meant for community improvement, not for building a politician's personal brand. Even seasoned political figures, accustomed to the murkiness of campaigning, were stunned by Henyard's audacity. They called it an egregious overreach, with many residents questioning her leadership. Using taxpayer money for self-promotion was seen as an unacceptable misuse of public funds and a direct violation of the ethical duties of elected officials. Henyard's actions followed a disturbing pattern, prioritizing her image over the well-being of her constituents, all while Dalton's financial struggles deepened. Her leadership, marred by questionable decisions, highlighted a stark contrast between her lavish lifestyle and the everyday hardships faced by the people she was elected to serve. While her supporters attempted to justify her actions as ambitious leadership, the misuse of public funds for personal gain painted a troubling picture of ego-driven governance. This saga marked another chapter in Henyard's increasingly controversial tenure, sparking ongoing debates about accountability and the ethical responsibilities of public officials. As Dalton continued to struggle with financial deficits and growing public mistrust, the fallout from Henyard's actions left a lasting impact, cementing her legacy as one of the most contentious figures in the town's history. Both corruption and state election regulations seemed to align with Henyard's ostentatious behavior, leaving the public with little faith in her leadership. One of the most perplexing aspects of Henyard's administration was her security detail, which resembled something more appropriate for a high-level politician or celebrity than a small-town mayor. Right after taking office, Henyard swiftly assembled her own carefully chosen security team, offering them round-the-clock protection. This extravagant setup cost taxpayers a fortune, with some members reportedly earning up to $113,000 for working just 303 hours in a single 2-week period. This level of compensation was impossible unless hours were being inflated, or worse, the team was using time-bending abilities to rack up such high wages. In total, over $1 million was siphoned from Dalton's already tight budget to fund Henyard's personal protection squad. For a small-town mayor whose town was in severe debt, this was a glaring example of fiscal irresponsibility. This shocking expenditure not only strained the town's finances further, but also raised suspicions that Henyard was more interested in securing her own safety and comfort than addressing the urgent needs of her community. While Dalton struggled to pay off its massive debt, Henyard continued to live in lavish excess, all at the expense of taxpayers. The combination of extravagant spending, self-promotion, and questionable decision-making set the stage for Henyard's downfall. Her tenure, once marked by grand promises and high hopes, devolved into a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the abuse of public trust. As federal investigations into her actions continue, the residents of Dalton are left to grapple with the consequences of having elected a leader whose priorities were so clearly misaligned with the needs of her town. While the people of Dalton are working hard to make ends meet, their mayor is living like royalty. The outrageous overtime pay for Henyard's security detail wasn't the only thing making headlines. Questions mounted when Henyard's security team accompanied her on out-of-town excursions. When asked about it, Henyard claimed the security was necessary due to threats, but few were convinced. The situation grew worse when she fired the town's police chief after he refused to comply with her demands, further embarrassing many locals who couldn't believe the extreme measures she took to protect herself. You might think all this extravagant spending was part of some clever financial scheme, but the receipts tell a different story. Dalton is descending deeper into financial turmoil, while Henyard continues to live lavishly. When residents began raising concerns, Henyard dismissed them, claiming it was simply part of the life of a public figure. However, the last time anyone checked, being a mayor didn't come with VIP treatment or a personal security detail funded by taxpayers. Meanwhile, the town is drowning in debt, and the people of Dalton are growing increasingly disillusioned with their leader, who seems more interested in self-service than public service. People were starting to notice Henyard's extravagant spending, and one reliable source, Jason House, spilled the tea, claiming she has taken lavish trips with village staff and caused the village to be in a multi-million-dollar deficit. His comments painted a stark picture of Henyard's mismanagement. Henyard appears to have confused serving the public with serving her own interests, using public funds to support her luxurious lifestyle. But the fallout didn't stop with financial mismanagement. Henyard's retribution against those who dared to challenge her was swift and brutal. Anyone who disobeyed her was not just reprimanded, but faced the full force of her wrath. Business owners had their licenses revoked, employees were fired for refusing to dig up dirt on her rivals, and lawsuits from former workers alleging unlawful dismissal piled up. Henyard ruled Dalton with an iron fist, using fear and intimidation to control those around her. One particularly damning case involves longtime Thorne Township employee Dwayne Thrash, who claims he was fired after refusing to participate in one of Henyard's alleged schemes. She wanted him to help replace an attorney with someone her assistant preferred, but when Thrash refused, even after being offered a $100,000 pay increase, he was quickly let go. Thrash filed for unfair dismissal, and his case is just one of many. Carmen Carlisle, a former trustee and once a member of Team Henyard, has completely changed her tune. Now she's calling out Henyard's deceptive practices. Carlisle believes there are many others who have been retaliated against, fired or lied to by Henyard, but have yet to come forward. I think there are many more victims who have been retaliated against, fired or lied to by Henyard but have yet to speak out, said Carlisle in an interview. Carlisle said, holding nothing back. If you think that's bad, wait until you hear from former trustee Valeria Stubbs, who has also spoken out. She described a shocking experience, opening her door to find police there, simply because she disagreed with the mayor. The harassment didn't stop there. Henyard pushed things to a whole new level of craziness, even sending police officers to intimidate and frighten her detractors. Henyard's former assistant Fenya Dukes has joined the growing list of people suing the mayor. Dukes claims she was sexually harassed during a taxpayer-funded trip, and when she reported it to Henyard, she was swiftly retaliated against. As the list of victims grows, more and more reports surface of workers being coerced into spying on Henyard's detractors. Some individuals were even placed on unpaid medical leave after speaking out about sexual harassment involving a trustee. Henyard's reign over Dalton is being increasingly described as that of a tyrant, controlling the town like her personal kingdom. Anyone who refuses to bow to her demands finds themselves facing retribution, whether through loss of job, harassment, or worse. The situation in Dalton is deteriorating as Henyard's self-serving actions continue to spiral out of control. The town, already struggling under a mountain of debt, is now dealing with a leader whose priorities seem entirely disconnected from the needs of the people she was elected to serve. Henyard's aggressive tactics, her blatant misuse of taxpayer funds, and her harsh retribution against those who dare to oppose her paint a troubling picture of governance, one that raises serious questions about the ethical responsibilities of public officials. As more information about Tiffany Henyard's opponents emerges, it's becoming clear that the situation in Dalton resembles political warfare more than public service. Henyard, in a heated and contentious village board meeting, claimed her community was being attacked and vowed to defend herself against what she called a smear campaign. However, the facts don't line up with her narrative. While Henyard continues to point fingers at everyone else, others are shifting the blame back to her, and the financial crisis in Dalton is worsening. The village is now facing a $2 million deficit, with hundreds of thousands of dollars owed for essential services like street paving and tree trimming. But, of course, Henyard missed the memo. Like many of us who try to keep track of our spending, Dalton has been running business without an annual audit since 2021. Without an audit, things can spiral out of control quickly. And that's exactly what happened. For the past 3 years, Dalton has had no financial oversight or audits, creating a free-for-all with taxpayer money. Enter the cavalry, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. She's been called in to investigate Henyard's spending, and she's not holding back. Lightfoot is diving deep into Dalton's financial records, and what she's uncovered so far is shocking. The town now faces a $3.65 million deficit in its general fund. Dalton's bank account is running as dry as a desert, while spending, particularly in the police department, has surged by 21%. It looks as though someone has been writing blank checks, and the finger is pointing straight at Henyard. But rather than taking responsibility for the financial chaos, Henyard is attempting to shift the blame. She's now claiming that her former right-hand man, Freeman Keith, misled her about all those financial decisions. Henyard is presenting herself as the victim, alleging that she was unaware of the financial mess. But no one is buying it. It's an excuse that doesn't sit well with the village board or the residents. Now, let's take a closer look at Freeman Keith. He's been charged with bankruptcy fraud, and rumors suggest that he is cooperating with investigators providing crucial information. This betrayal must be hitting Henyard hard, as her former ally could be the key to unraveling her entire operation. While Henyard tries to deflect, the village board and the public are becoming more skeptical of her claims. Jason House, a key figure in calling out Henyard's behavior, is leading the charge. He's vocal about the lavish trips Henyard has taken and the town's escalating multi-million-dollar deficit. But Henyard is not backing down. Instead, she's leaning on the smear campaign card, claiming the allegations are personal attacks. To make matters worse, she even tried to play the gender card, arguing that the village board was out to get her because she's a woman. Unfortunately for Henyard, that excuse is as flimsy as dollar store toilet paper. The situation has escalated to the point where the state of Illinois had to step in. They froze Dalton's funds, essentially taking away the town's allowance because they no longer trust the local government to manage it properly. But the state intervention is just the beginning. Saving the proceeds from the lake's tax, Dalton was reinstated as the provost of the town government with more political power and more time to spend in the commons. The FBI has now entered the picture, and they've slapped Henyard with subpoenas, demanding to see everything, from payroll to reimbursements to travel expenses. Imagine this: FBI agents rolling up to Henyard's house like it's the season finale of your favorite crime show. They're tearing through the place, flipping cushions, and going through her belongings like it's a heist scene. What they found was more than just a few stray bills. They uncovered heaps of cash buried away like hidden treasure. But that's just the appetizer. The FBI is digging into everything: financial records, company documents, even her so-called charity. The investigation now extends far beyond her role as mayor. It's looking into the entire operation Henyard has created. The FBI has receipts, and they're not just concerned with minor infractions. They're investigating potential wire fraud and embezzlement. We're talking serious charges here, charges that could land Henyard in prison. You may wonder what the big deal is with having some cash tucked away. But as a public official, every dollar must be accounted for, and any irregularities raise red flags. The question on everyone's mind is, how much money is Henyard hiding, and is it enough to send her to jail? But the money's just the tip of the iceberg. The FBI's investigation is extensive, looking into every corner of Henyard's empire, from financial mismanagement to possible criminal activity. The public is starting to realize that Henyard's extravagant lifestyle wasn't just a result of bad financial decisions. It could be part of a much bigger scheme. As things continue to unravel, Dalton faces an uncertain future. State funds have been frozen, and the financial hole Henyard has created will take years to fix. The village needs fresh leadership, someone who can balance the books without treating the town's finances like their own personal piggy bank. But with the trust of the people shattered, it will be a long road ahead to restore confidence in Dalton's government. So, what's next for Dalton? First, the town needs to clean house, removing any bad actors who were complicit in Henyard's reign of financial chaos. Without proper leadership, the same mistakes could happen again. The town needs someone who will manage the budget wisely and prioritize the community's well-being over personal gain. Dalton is in desperate need of a leader who can restore fiscal responsibility and rebuild trust with its residents. Looking back, you have to wonder, could Dalton have done more to prevent Henyard's rise to power and subsequent downfall? Could the village board have acted sooner to address the financial red flags that were starting to appear? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to tune in to our next video for even more juicy details on this unfolding story. Dalton needs a leader who will do the job right, not one who treats the town like their own personal ATM.